there shouldn't be anyone who's able to unmute themselves because I've just got a lot of things running in the background.
Okay, sure. Okay, so hi everyone. I'm going to get started. I'm Kelsey Gallagher Mombach, and I'm going to be presenting on AI and information literacy, how the overuse of chatbots suppresses the information literacy development of college students. So I did start the recording, and just a shout out to Future of AI, who is the sponsor for this mini conference this time around. So today I'm going to give you some quick facts, specifically ChatGPT related. I'm going to talk about the low and high stake usage of ChatGPT, the information literacy skills of college students that are being suppressed by this tool, responsible and irresponsible use, and going forward, what can we do? So some quick facts. ChatGPT is owned and hosted by OpenAI. Many of you may know the CEO, Sam Altman. He's a controversial figure, often in the news. It was the fastest growing application in history until the Threads app was launched in July of 2023. It had 1 million users within just the first 5 days of the launch and 100 million in 2 months. Just for some perspective, it took Instagram 2.5 years to get to 100 million, and it took TikTok 9 months. Here's some language that you may hear being thrown around about ChatGPT. It's a large language model. It's a conversational AI chatbot. It's generative AI, and it's machine learning. So here's a chart I made from some information from SEO.ai showing the increase and decreases. So if we're talking about college students, we can see that there's a decrease in June. And I think that that can be, as well as August, which I think can be attributed to the summer break. And then we see another one in December, which I do think, even though it's smaller than the summer break, it could be attributed to a winter break. Some improvements that ChatGPT has made along the way to make it more accessible that are awesome improvements. It has multiple language options, voice recognition, API access so other companies can use it, visual recognition. It's integrated with OpenAI's Codex, so now it has the ability to give you code. It has a translator. It has a memory system. If you have an account, you can go back and see the conversations you've had with it. And it has an offline model, which is really important. Here are just some charts from Pew Research. So we see the uptick in ChatGPT use since July of 2023. And we see that the largest uptake is in college-age students, 18 to 29 years old. But it is important to note also that about 1/3 of employed Americans under 30 use it for work, which is another conversation all in itself, right? Here's a graph that I made from some information from a Science Direct article that I have in my references. I really suggest reading it, very informative. Just a distribution of use across disciplines and subject areas. We can see that after unspecified, social sciences is using it the most, but all disciplines really are using it to some degree. So low stakes and high stake uses. This is something that I teach when I teach ChatGPT for information literacy classes. So I'm just going to go over 2 examples of my chart though. A low stakes usage, I have a head of lettuce, 3 eggs, barbecue sauce, bread and mushrooms. What can I make for dinner? High stakes usage. Please provide me with 5 reputable sources for my research paper on the use of GMOs in citrus fruits. But we all know that all forms of unreliable information are harmful, whether or not it's high stakes or low stakes usage. Low stakes usage still can spread misinformation, and your credibility in the professional world may, for some, and for me, it's just as important as your credibility in the personal world. If you're spreading misinformation, if you turn into that friend that's always giving, tidbits that they don't know where the information came from, it does ruin your credibility. Here's a little cartoon with two cats chatting. The importance to take away from this is this poor cat is saying, what other lies have I spread because of misinformation? So back to my best and worst, my low and high stakes. So the best and worst case scenarios for the GMO prompt. Best case, it provides reputable sources, right? Which it doesn't often do. Worst case is GMO is misidentified to mean global marketing operations, and the sources are all about worldwide marketing of citrus fruits. If the student doesn't really know too much about their topic, they may get confused and think, oh, a GMO could mean two things. They may, misequate that those things have anything to do with each other. They may use all the sources and write a very confusing paper. So excessive ChatGPT use is hindering the information literacy development of college students. I see this that students are not properly learning how to utilize online library resources because they don't feel the need. Basic internet searching skills, basic research skills and methods, locating and evaluating sources, navigating websites, and giving attribution to others' intellectual property. There is a rise in plagiarizing because of this tool. Also, just developing your own style of writing. So basic search strategies, advanced search, Boolean operators, the use or non-use of stop words, phrase searching, and keywords. These are things that students are not really learning or taking seriously anymore. Beyond Google, locating and accessing open educational resources or databases on the open net, and then locating and accessing online library resources. Navigating websites, the fundamentals of a sitemap. So knowing, like an on-site search, knowing that if I go to the About section, there'll be a drop-down for contact information here. Knowing that if I go to the bottom of this website, I can see when it was last updated. The use of Control F in a PDF or on a website, that's not common knowledge with the college students. And knowing where to find the site's credentials, I just said that. Basic research skills and methods, fundamentals of academic writing like theses, abstracts, annotated bibliographies, and outlines. ChatGPT can do all of this for them. Pre-planning and time management. If you're utilizing a tool that can give you the answers or write an essay in less than 30 seconds, you're not learning time management while you're in school. Utilizing indexes and table of contents, when to close read and when to skim, how to annotate when you read, and how to spot fake news. Evaluating sources. So locating and accessing sources is a big thing, and analyzing the credibility or knowing how or where to find the information about credible sources. Visual and navigational assessment of websites. If ChatGPT is just churning out information from a website, but you've never seen that website, how can you know the credibility of it? How can you know when it was last updated? How can you know what it looks like? Which can often be a key way to assess if a website is credible. Domain prefixes, knowing that you have to, be a little more concerned with a .org site and knowing that a .edu or a .gov site are very credible. Fact checking through Google News, Snopes, factcheck.org, source verification, copy pasting the information into a search engine and seeing if it shows up more than one time. These are skills that the students are not, taking seriously. Citations. If you don't know where to locate the information to create a citation, you'll not be able to evaluate the credibility of the source before you use it. Remember, and it's been mentioned a few times now, that ChatGPT creates hallucinated references. It creates fake citations. It has been written about very often that it will churn out a citation of something that does not exist. And AI generated content now needs to be cited. So you need to cite it. Think about citing personal communication within an academic assignment or work. You wouldn't not cite personal communication. You wouldn't pretend that you said something that someone else said. MLA APA and Chicago have come out with their own, their ways that they want ChatGPT items to be cited. I'm going to go through these quickly. I'm going to give you access to my slides so you can go and look at this. You can also go to their websites. They have information there. This is just a little more straightforward and organized for you. So we all know you can't trust any type of content when you don't know where it's coming from. Here's a Kermit meme that some of you may have seen. ChatGPT make up the scholarly articles. So this question is often proposed to us as librarians. Is using ChatGPT academic dishonesty? This is data from 2023. 4 in 10 students say that it defeats the purpose of education. 3 in 4 users believe it's cheating, but they use it anyway. And more than half of college students believe using it to complete assignments as cheating. If you're in the higher education sector, you know that these opinions have changed and that there has been an uptick in people using it. Students are using it. So some responsible use, what can it be best used for? Generating ideas for keywords and related concepts of a topic. If you're someone that's not confident with your information literacy skills, it can be very hard to figure out keywords. ChatGPT can give you this. Suggestions for databases to find information on the open web, not a suggestion for a specific source, suggestions for a resource that you can go to, but then you do have to evaluate that resource. Suggestions to improve writing, such as checking your grammar, sentence structure, giving you synonyms or alternative phrasing. Brainstorming, because it feels like you're talking to a person, it's very easy to have a conversation with it. So brainstorming ideas for whatever, really. Outlines. I do think that it's being overused for outlines. I do think that learning how to make an outline is an important part of studying and being in college, but ChatGPT is very good for it. Summarizing or rewriting notes, say that you're a messy note taker, you're all over the place, put all your notes into ChatGPT and say, I want these to be organized by each topic that the professor talked about that day, and it will give you a more organized list. Creating study schedules. I've got an assignment due on Friday the 13th. I have soccer practice every day from 3 to 6. I have to take care of my grandparents on Tuesday evenings. I have to babysit. I have whatever. Put in all that information and ask, when should I make time to study? When should I start preparing for this assignment based on the availability I have? It is good for creating pieces of codes. I would never use it for an entire script, and always keep the original code in a document in case it's, incorrect. What should it not be used for in academia? Generating lists of sources because of the artificial hallucinations. Formatting citations because of the artificial hallucinations. Summarizing stories, books, movies, and articles. You need to be very careful when you use it for something like this, because if you say something like, summarize The Color Purple for me, that's also 2 movies now. So it could give you a summary of the movie, and then if you've not read the book, you write your paper based on that. And movies and books differ. Even if it's small aspects, you may have written your assignment on the wrong type of media. Information about current events after November 2022, ChatGPT 3.5, which is the most current free version, does not have information after that date. Helping you formulate an opinion. The information is always biased. Sometimes it can be hateful and discriminatory, so I would not use it for opinion-based assignments. Dates and anything history related, it is absolutely not the one that you want to go to. Cultural norms and attitudes, like I said, it can be biased, it can be discriminatory, and it is not culturally sensitive. A few examples from my life. So when it first came out, we did a test to make a book list for a display for National Humor Month. So we put in that prompt and it gave us a good amount of books, but one of those books was Slaughterhouse-Five. So even though this is a funny book, it's dark humor, it's very adult themed. Someone could come to our display thinking that they're going to have something hilarious and lighthearted. They read that book, it could induce trauma. It could make them feel very uncomfortable or fearful. And then, we've done them a disservice. I tried utilizing it when I wrote my art history thesis for graduate school, and it just gave me misinformation after misinformation. Grammar help, I do use it for. So say I have a sentence, I can plug that sentence in and say, should I have used have here when I used had? Clarity in writing as well. I give a longer description of what I'm trying to convey with my sentence. I put my sentence in and I say, does this make sense? It gives me back another sentence. I'm not going to copy paste that sentence though. I am going to rewrite it in my own words, but it gives me a little bit better idea of, the sentence structure I need to use, the punctuation that will make it make my point more clear. Information that's easy to lateral search. So just really, I use this for confirmation bias. I think I know something, I put it in, ChatGPT may say it's correct. I laterally search very quickly with that sentence and I see, how it goes. Small amounts of code, song lyrics, definitions and synonyms. Sometimes it's easier to just plug into ChatGPT. What is the definition of this word? Rather, when you use something like Google, you get a lot of ads first, and sometimes dictionary.com does not come up for a while, depending on the algorithm that Google has assigned to you. So here's an example. When I was creating this presentation, I was a little confused about the word suppress versus suppresses. So this is just a snippet of the conversation we had. This is the end of it. You can see here that it says you should use suppress, but then it says suppresses. So I say suppresses or suppress. I have 3 question marks because I was getting frustrated at that point. And then eventually it says suppresses is the correct form and it writes it correctly. But with so many back and forth issues, can I even trust this final answer from ChatGPT? So excessive use hinders information literacy skills. Over-reliance on the tool is very dangerous. There's no intellectual growth, and students don't really see a reason to grow because they feel that this tool will always be there. The tool is often down due to overuse. So if you are using it all the time, the tool could be down for minutes, it could be down for days. So if you rely on it, that's not a great situation. Of course, it spreads misinformation and it creates blind trust in a digital tool that does not yet deserve it. So going forward, what can we do? Well, ChatGPT isn't going away. So as information professionals, it's important that we know as much as possible about the tool. Things to consider: how is the population I serve using it? What are appropriate applications for it, for you, for your patrons, professionally, personally, studiously, entertainment-wise? How can I demonstrate the importance of knowing where information comes from? How can I demonstrate the importance of knowing how to locate and access reliable information? How can I persuade people to do independent research instead of using the tool? Well, everyone has their own answers to those things, and I do encourage discussion, reading articles, watching webinars and lectures, participating in roundtables and listservs, talking to other information professionals, or if you're an academic institution, talk to faculty about perspectives and predictions, personal and professional use, how they address the use with their patrons or their students. And if your community isn't talking about it, start the conversation. If you're an information professional and you don't have a ChatGPT account, which is free, you're doing yourself a disservice. You really need to learn how to use the tool, what its faults are, and what you think are the best ways to use it. So here is an example of a course syllabus template, the end of it from Pratt Institute. I strongly believe that higher academia needs to have statements, either syllabus to syllabus or a college-wide one. Pratt says, except when called for, you can not use the tool. But when you do, it needs to be acknowledged transparently. So Pratt Institute has a library school. So there may be assignments given where students supposed to use ChatGPT. Maybe they're studying AI. In this case, this statement lets them know that as long as they acknowledge it, they can use the tool. And always report misinformation. Some of you may not know that ChatGPT has this little thumbs down that allows you to report misinformation. It brings you here. You can say more if you want, and you can check off all 3, 2, or 1 of these these options. So if you find that your information is faulty, you should report it. It will make the tool better eventually, right? So thanks everyone for listening. Here's my contact information. This is a QR code to my LinkedIn. And I really welcome any more discussion that people want to have about this, especially K through 12 and academic librarians. Okay, so I guess I will look at the chat. Anyone have a question? I've got 8 minutes. Breaking down a prompt to assist and prioritizing tasks. Yes, yes. Yeah, so this is, oh, another Kelsey. This is really important. So as a person of higher ed, I know many of you may have multiple degrees. We are knowledgeable and we may know a little bit about the subject matter, but we really do just want that confirmation bias. Maybe when you're writing something, you're so ready to keep writing, but you're thinking to yourself, is that the right date? Is that the right way to spell this person's name? Using ChatGPT, when you know enough about your subject to catch when it's wrong, is a responsible way to use it. Okay, so Joyce says she's had better luck with the other LLMs, large learning models, and I haven't used them that often. I've used Bard. I felt that ChatGPT was superior to it, but that's good information, food for thought, and I will be checking out some more. I agree with Caroline. It should have another disclaimer because when you first set up an account, it does give a disclaimer about misinformation and a few other things, but it doesn't say anything about the hallucinations. So that is a good point. Yeah, so this conversation, it is terrible with history. I just recently finished my MA in art history, subset of history, and it was completely unreliable, specifically with dates and myths. So in the presentation, I did have a screenshot of a question I asked about Van Gogh cutting off his ear, which has a lot of misinformation that has been spread from the time of, just for various reasons, and it gave me the reason that most people think is correct, which is not correct. So it does have that bias. I think I may put my slides in the conference proposal area where people were able to comment on things, but I am going to ask Steve Harrington about if there's a better way to do it. And I do have references. I'll give you all access to the slide if you want me to go through. There is a few. But yeah, I mean, that's too quick, right? You'll have access to them if you decide to go check my slides. Many of the faculty that I have relationships with at my institution are open to hearing about AI. I gave an AI presentation to our peer tutors a few semesters ago, and some word got around, and I did end up eventually reformulating the presentation for specific disciplines. I mostly do it for the early education students. Because they're the ones that are going in through into K through 12. So they're the ones that really need to understand that it is being used so much by their students. And some of them do want to become library media specialists, so they do need to have that information. So do I have enough time to answer? I'm going to try to answer this question quickly, but so for something like history, which I've said a few times, I would say no AI is allowed. Something like a coding class or a technology class, an information technologies class that may be about AI, comparative essays, I would say don't let if it's a STEM assignment that you have to do research on, I would say no. Math, it can create formulas, it can create tables, things like that. So utilizing it. But as the Pratt statement said, I think it's very important to be 100% transparent about the use. Make sure that your professor knows beforehand. And if you do use it for a paper, you have to cite it or say, which Chicago style recommends, not giving it a citation in your bibliography, but rather doing a narrative a narrative in-text citation, where you mention something like, as ChatGPT said from this prompt. Okay, so I'm at 4:28. Thank you so much for everyone's time. I'll put the presentation slides in the comment section on my proposal for now, and then I will ask Steve Harrington if there's a better way to get it to everyone. And feel free to, use friend me on LinkedIn or send me an email if you want to discuss this further. I would love to trade slides back and forth. If you are someone that presents on this as well, I would love to hear from everyone. And thanks, Joyce, for that search tools right now. All right. Thank you, everyone.